Hello? Can you hear me?
Who is this? How do you know me?
I told you. I'm the guy who pulled you out of the street a couple days ago. Listen, I need you to meet me behind the apartments at 32nd and Main, close to the hospital. Meet me there before nightfall.
How are you getting the signal out? I can't send or receive anything in this city.
I'll tell you when you get there. Don't have enough time on this channel to talk.
I'm not going anywhere until you start answering some questions. Hello? Hello? 32nd and Main. That's not too far. As much as I wanted to ignore this guy's request, I hadn't had any contact with someone in the QZ that didn't try to kill me, or at least knock me unconscious. Despite his tone, I decided that it was best to bring a vest, just in case he would try to start some trouble. Even though the meeting point wasn't too far, I still decided it was best to take the long way there, ducking behind cars and moving through alleys. Checking the map, if I stuck to the northern outskirts of Raven City, I'd likely run into a lot less trouble, only really needing to deal with whatever infected would be in the streets that I couldn't avoid. Either way, I'd be content so long as it meant not going anywhere near the city. Sticking to the familiar wrecks of some nearby cars, I was surprised to see there was only a few infected blocking the way that I'd have to deal with. Then again, the past few days, there's been a lot of helicopter activity over the southern part of the city, so it only makes sense that there'd be fewer infected in the area I was based in. "20 to 5. While I would be arriving on time, it didn't help that this sudden trip away from my home, as well as all of that woodworking I did the last couple of days, had left me feeling pretty drained. Seeing a larger group of infected and not wanting to trail them to our meeting point, I instead climbed a fence and stuck to the nearby alley. Taking the time to climb to a roof of a small store, I looked a few blocks down and I could see the apartments I'd be meeting this guy over the radio. What did he want? If he was the same guy that saved me, then he should already have enough supplies from the doctor. What if he wants to hold me up? If our meeting is anything like this alleyway, I can't fight in a place like this. He'd have no problem shooting me in the back as I run. Okay, then I'll draw first. Give him time to speak and demand some answers. Yeah, it'll have to do. Also, how can he use the radios? I haven't been able to find a signal since entering this city. Could he be the one that's blocking them? Sticking to the northern wall, I entered what looked like a small, quiet garden area. Only, rather than a guy, I was met with more infected that were also trying to enjoy the peace. Right, he said behind the building, not the garden. Taking a look down the alley, after I dealt with this last infected, I was surprised to see then that I was the first one to arrive. This was good. I could get the drop on him much easier. Hiding behind the last pillar of bricks, I readied my pistol and listened for any approaching footsteps. You don't need to hurt anyone, just ask some questions, get some answers, and get out.
Jumpy, aren't you? Then again, you'd have to be crazy not to these days.
Did that happen after you saved me?
This? No. It happened a week or so when this whole infection started. Been really hard to try and stay safe and defend myself since.
I can imagine.
But since you're here, now you... Okay. Not the trusting type. You do remember that I dragged you out of the street from infected, right?
I was unconscious.
Fair. But you wouldn't be here today if it wasn't not for me. So how about a little trust?
Answer some questions first. How were you able to use the radios? I thought there was no signal.
There isn't.
Hmm?
The doc makes sure of that. He says it's his way of protecting us, but for some reason at 2 o'clock, the thing blocking the frequency is down. We only get a minute or so to talk.
Okay. I'm trusting you on this. What do you want?
Here. It's just a few things that I need from this side of the city. Believe it or not, the area that you're staying in is the least looted. You've got a pharmacy, some decent clothing stores, and even a few gun and tool stores. Hell, if you could find me a map of Riverside, that'd be great. Also, because of this, I can't really keep going out and scavenging. Not because I'm not safe, but because I've got someone back home who can't defend themselves. And I can't keep taking any more risks.
And you want me to what? Fetch these things for you?
Well, yeah, essentially. It would mean a lot, and...
Forget it.
What?
No, I can't help you.
Can't or won't?
Either. I haven't exactly had the best luck since coming to the QZ, and I need to focus on getting myself out of here, never mind another group of people.
But you work for the doctor, right? You help deliver his supplies to my...
No, I don't work for him. I was blackmailed, or tricked into helping you. I'm not even from this city, or country. I just want to go home.
Wait, you're not a local? Are you even an American citizen?
No, I'm just some guy who was stuck in the next state over, because all flights out of the country have been grounded. And I'm running low on some money as well. Kinda hard to pay for food when you're not exactly from this country. I was hoping that I'd catch a break and maybe bring back some evidence from the QZ that I could sell at the press for some cash and maybe even a ticket back to the UK.
You mean you're just some tourist?
Yeah. I've been stuck here for a month already and I just trying to get back home.
You've been here a month? I've been stuck here since day one. I've seen good people lost to this infection. Friends. Family. And you're just some tourist, looking to make some cheap cash? You're no different than the monsters who come here for cheap thrills, are you? Is that it? You just want to live out some apocalypse fantasy? This was a waste of time. I thought you would at least want to repay the fact that I saved your ass. I should have just left you on the street.
Picking myself up from the pavement, I left the alley with a pain in my cheek and without any feelings of regret. I didn't owe him anything. I was just as in rough shape as he was. I needed to look out for myself if I wanted to get out of here. He's made it this far in that condition. I'm sure he could scrounge up those things on his own. The walk home that night was different. I spent the last few days feeling afraid and stressed about how I was supposed to escape the city and the people that I'd met along the way. But after meeting that guy, all I felt that night was anger. Apocalypse fantasy? Fuck him. I'm no monster, I just want to go home. Eventually, my anger subsided and I realized that it would soon be 8 o'clock. The time when the infected would be the most active, and I was still a good few streets away from home. It didn't help that I was tired either. Not just physically, but tired of everyone that I meet in this QZ either trying to use me or kill me. Once I knew I was close home, I used whatever reserves of energy I had to run back. Hopping the fence, I made sure to check on my newly made defences. Still up and undisturbed. I doubt any one-armed survivors will be visiting me tonight. Heading back inside my apartment, I firstly needed to wash up to avoid any infection. As I washed my hands, the conversation that I just had that night had played on repeat in my head, filling the silence that surrounded the empty room. Sitting down, and after eating, I reflected on those words. Tourist. Thrill seeker. Monster. Fuck that guy. I ended up keeping the note he gave me, on accident. Reading it over again, I went through my own supply of medicine and noticed a lot of it was out of date. I would also need some warmer clothes too. I wasn't planning on staying till winter, but even I started to feel the wind biting a lot more than usual too. I easily confirmed that, as the moment that I left my apartment, I was feeling a sudden chill again. If what he said was correct, I probably wouldn't have much trouble finding some warmer clothes in this side of the city. I decided that it was probably best to head to that small mall near my base. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing a couple clothing stores on the second floor, as well as a pharmacy. Approaching the side entrance, I must have forgotten to unlock it the last time I was here, so it meant that I'd have to take the risky front entrance instead. Except there was not much risk at all. In fact, there were no infected outside or inside the mall. All that helicopter activity must have done wonders dragging the infected further south from here. Entering the mall, my eye suddenly began to drift towards the map section. That guy. He mentioned something about a map. Riverside? It wouldn't take me more than a couple seconds for me to look. No, I needed to look out for myself. I need to find a way out of the city on my own. I can barely take care of myself, never mind others, and more people would just slow me down. Besides, when I get out of here, I'll let someone know that there's still survivors in Raven Creek. They'll come pick them up, and then we'll be even. Checking the pharmacy, I immediately grabbed whatever meds were in date before checking the clothing store next door. Unfortunately, it was mostly sportswear, but the one further up, I did find myself a coat that I liked, as well as some spare winter clothes, and one child-sized, just like the list. Ignoring the coincidence, I headed back downstairs. That's when I headed back to the maps to grab some for myself, in case I eventually ended up finding a way out of the city. And yep, there were some Riverside ones. Leaving them behind, I then made my way back home, to store my med salvage as well as the new clothes that I found. It was still light out, and it's not like I had any plans with friends, so I decided to spend some time learning the routes and seeing what buildings were in my area. I mean, this supposedly was the most unlooted area, as well as the best time, as there had been no infected spotted for a while. So why not make the most of this and explore a little? I eventually found what looked like a small theatre. I hadn't been to one of these for years, so, for nostalgia's sake, I wanted to look around. Entering the cinema, I was welcomed by the smell of steel popcorn and broken arcade machines. Not much different from the cinemas back home, actually. I then found the small screening room. I always liked how heavy the silence felt when I entered these as a kid. Like, there wasn't anything else to focus on in the world but what chair I wanted to sit in or what was playing on the screen in front of me. I wasn't planning on staying here for the night, so entering a small alleyway, I was able to inspect the rest of the apartments that were towering over me. And of course there were some infected. After dealing with them, I went through an emergency exit that was open, and what I thought was an apartment building was instead a back corridor to a store with its fences closed. This was probably the safest that I'd be from any infected outside. Checking the interior though. Nothing. Never mind! Okay. Now, fully awake, I decided that it was best to spend the night at the top floor of the apartment, though at least any infected that would be wandering the lower halls I'd be safe from. Nope, I couldn't sleep. The infected were making so much noise that, instead, I decided to sneak through the streets and tried my luck at another set of apartments nearby. This one was thankfully empty and very tall, so heading to the top floor, I found myself a room, got comfortable, and as I laid down, I planned my route back home. The next morning, I was awoken by the sound of a passing helicopter. If a horde followed that sound and made their way inside this building, I'd eventually be bottlenecked at the top floor. So, sprinting back to the street level as fast as I can, I only had to deal with just a few infected that had taken up shelter in a storage room. Of course, my luck was tested, and it failed. Because soon, the helicopter would be coming back. Not wanting to find out if it was unfriendly, the bullet-riddled way, I hid inside a storage room until it passed. Taking a peek outside. Yep, that's definitely not friendly gunfire. Once it passed, I knew my time exploring the empty streets was over, as a horde of trapped infected was slowly breaking through a near cafe to take to the streets. Rather than head back home, the same direction that the helicopter did, I instead took a detour. They were still infected, but not nearly enough to surround me. As I was passing by a nearby bar, I suddenly realised that I can't remember the last time I had a proper pint. Making it a month in the QZ seemed like a celebration enough, so... Heading round back, I eventually found a broken-in door behind the bar, as well as a broken-in door towards the bar. Well, if anyone was staying here, they must have been chased off a little while ago, so probably best to make this quick. Inspecting the shelves, I didn't want to end up getting too tipsy on my way back home, so I settled for a lukewarm beer instead. And honestly, I probably would have preferred the walk home.
You fucking thief. Come back in here, try to rob my shit again, not happening.
I didn't come here to steal from you. I thought it was empty.
Alright. How about I rob you instead?
What? Wait. I didn't mean... I didn't want to kill him, I just... It was a reflex, I just... Right. It's nearly 2 o'clock. God, I hope he's listening. Hello? It's Ken, or Red Hoodie Guy. Alright. I'll help.